What's up, fourth graders? In this video, I'm going to be recapping Illustrative Mathematics Unit 5, pages 3 through 27, discussing multiplicative comparisons. I'm going to show you what a multiplicative comparison is. I'm going to tell you how to use it with multiplication or division, and then we're going to apply those things to story problems. Stick around. All right, so in our Unit 5 workbook, Grade 4, Illustrative Mathematics, we're going to talk about multiplicative comparison. What is it? What does this even mean? A multiplicative comparison is simply when it says times as many. So in this warm-up, we ask ourselves, what do you notice? What do you wonder? We notice that Andre and Han have 3 sets of 3s, groups of 3s. When you see times, we don't think of times, we think groups. So Andre has 4 groups as much as Andre's group. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 in each group would be 12. So if I saw 4 times as many, I would write 4 groups of 3 equals 12. That is what a multiplicative comparison is. We see that again here in lesson 2 on page 9. Mai's cubes and Kiran's cubes. Mai has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kiran has 1, 2. So, like I said, Mai is going to have 3 times as many, 3 groups, as much as what Kiran has. So if Jada has 4 times as many cubes as Kiran, then we're going to take our paper and we're going to put 4 times 4 groups as much as Kiran. In the picture, it shows us Kiran has 2. So how many is Jada going to have? Jada's going to have 8. The question on page 9 that we're looking at here asks us to draw a diagram. So what we would do is we would draw a K and a J, Jada and Kiran. Jada has 4 times as much, 1, 2, 3, 4. Kiran has this much. Kiran has 2. Jada has 4 groups. We're taking that 4 times and we're taking that times away and we're talking about groups. 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4. If there are 2 in each group, then Jada's total would be 8. 4 times 2 equals 8. That is what a multiplicative comparison is. That is what we are talking about here. Times as many, exchanging that word times for the word groups because multiplication is groups of, and knowing that when it says Jada has 4 times as many cubes as Kiran, we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 groups to his 2 total cubes, and that's what gets us 4 times 2 equals 8. The second thing that we're going to discuss when we're talking about multiplicative comparisons, I'm on page 17 in my workbook, is how to use multiplicative comparisons with multiplication and division. And so it can go both ways. Let's look over number 1 here. Mai and Andre compare the number of pages they read on the first day of the reading competition. So Mai has 15, and the diagram that we see here shows that Andre has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups of 15. So we would take what would be a good estimate? I would say 150-ish, if that's the question we're going to ask. But what we're going to do for the purposes of this video is we are going to solve this question. We know Mai has 15, and we can see in the diagram that Andre's pages are grouped into 9s. So we're going to take 15 times 9, and we're going to find out what this question mark is right here. One way that my students have been doing this, which is excellent, is taking that 15, splitting it into its place value. This 1 is in the tens place, so it's a 10, and this 5 is in the 1 place, so it's a 5. 10 times 9 and 5 times 9. We're going to do these things separately. This is 90. This is 45. Add these things together, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and we're going to get 135. Andre has 135 total pages. When we use a multiplicative comparison, we know. Now, what happens if the question says, what are Andre and Mai's pages together? Then we would take 135 plus 15, and if we're going to be awfully careful and make sure we know what we're doing, 5 and 5 is 10, 3, 4, 5, and 1. Together, they read 150 pages here together, right? But Andre on his own just read the 135. That is how you would solve that using multiplication. Now let's go down here to Lynn and Kieran. Again, this is multiplication because we have the 9. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups, and then we have our question mark. This is still multiplication. Now let's go to page 18, number 3. Jada read some pages. Han read 60 pages. This is when we get into division. The 60 here is the total. We have 60 total pages read. And then how many groups is Hans into? Hans is into 3 groups. So we're going to do 60 divided by 3, and that's going to tell us how many pages are in each group. One way that my students did this was they covered up that 0 and they thought, well, if 6 divided by 3 is 2, then 60 divided by 3 will be 20. And so they did that, and then they're like, I'm going to check my work and make sure 1, 2, 3 20s is in fact going to get me 60. So this is how we do it with division. When we have the total amount, then that's when this is division. That's on page 18. We have another division problem on page 19. Alina read 72 pages. Claire read 9. How is the diagram different from the earlier diagrams? Well, this diagram is different because we don't have the groups here. We don't know how many groups. Over here, we knew how many groups. Here, we don't know how many groups. So we have the total. And once we have the total, we know we're going to divide. And so we have how many Claire read, so that's 9. Knowing that each one of these boxes is 9, we're going to be able to divide. And since I know my facts, I know that 72 divided by 9 equals 8 because I know my math facts. If I don't know my math facts, I can write them out over here. Writing out my 9s until I hit this number. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have listed my 9s, and I have 8 groups of 4, which we're missing the groups of 9, excuse me. We're missing the groups here. That is how you use multiplication and division. Multiplication is on pages 16 and 17. Division is on pages 18 and 19 in your workbook. Multiplication and division with multiplicative comparisons. All right, and finally, story problems with multiplicative comparisons. These story problems are going to be multi-step, and they're going to use multiplication and or division, or addition and subtract. It's a lot of interesting things happening in these story problems. So let's look at this story problem. Here's our problem right here. We're going to read the story. For this year's book fair, a school ordered 16 science books and 6 times as many picture books. I'm on page 23. Last year, the school ordered 4 times as many picture books and 4 times as many science books as they did last year. How many picture books were ordered this year? How many picture books were ordered last year? How many more science books were ordered last year than this year? When you are thinking about word problems, get ready to take a screenshot here. This is what I want you to consider. Screenshot this. Tips for story problems. Read the story slowly 2 to 3 times. Ask yourself, what do they want? Meaning, what are the questions asking you, right? Ask yourself, what do I know? What is it about the story that I already know? There's a lot of information you already have. Then take notes, draw a chart, draw a picture. List numbers. Think. Do something to record your thoughts and think about what you're doing. So for this story, we're going to make a little chart. So we obviously have this year. We have this year, and we have, let's do it this way. We have this year and we have last year. So we have this year, we have last year. Okay? All right. Both times we have science books and we have picture books. We're going to make ourselves this little chart. So, for this year's book fair, a school ordered 16 science books. 16. That's all we have to do. And 6 times as many picture books. So for picture books this year, we ordered 6 times as many as what the school ordered science books, which we already know is 16. So there's our equation for this year's picture books. We can go ahead and solve this if we want. 6 times 16 is 96. We can just go ahead and solve that. Hold on to that for now. I don't know if we're going to need it or not, but let's just hang on to it. Last year, the school ordered 4 times as many picture books and 4 times as many science books than they did last year. So 4 times as many science books, 4 times as many picture books as they did last year. We already know how many science books we have. We have 16. For here, if we pretend like we don't know this for just a second, we can do like this, 6 times 16, and get our answer. Once we know this is 96, then we can do 4 times 96, which is going to get us 384. 4 times 16 is going to get us 64. So here is, we have collected all of our information out of the story right here, and we've applied it to the chart that we made. And in our chart, we see that we have 16 science books this year, 64 science books last year, 96 picture books this year, 384 picture books last year. We compiled this information before even knowing what they want. We read the story 2 or 3 times, and then we took notes, draw a chart, drew a picture, listed numbers. We thought about it, and this is the product of our thoughts. Now, the questions say, how many picture books were ordered this year? Well, that's the answer to number 1 right there. Nope, it's not either, is it? No, it's not. Here it is right here. This year's picture books, 96. How many picture books were ordered last year? Last year's picture books, 384, right? And then how many more science books were ordered last year than this year? Science books last year on our little chart is 64. Science books this year is 16. In order to determine how many more science books were ordered last year than this year, we're going to do subtraction. And we're going to subtract. And when we do that, our answer is going to be 48. So as you can see, for this story problem, first of all, they asked us 3 questions. They asked us 3 questions on page 23 from this little story here. We got 3 different questions. And those 3 questions included multiplication, subtraction, all kinds of different things that we needed. We could use repeated addition, however you want to find those. That is up to you. Now, on page 24, they have another story problem. At the book fair, they collected $13 Tuesday morning and 8 times as much as that in the afternoon. How much money did they collect at the book fair on Tuesday? The kicker here is to remember, we know we have Tuesday morning, 8 times. We didn't collect $8 in Tuesday afternoon. We collect 8 times as much as what we did in the morning. So we're going to do what? 13 times 8. That's going to get us how much we collected in the book fair in the afternoon. Then we're going to take that answer and add it to the 13, and that's going to get us 117. 104 is in the afternoon, and then add that 13 to there, and that's going to give you 117. And so it's just important that you're reading these things carefully and you're taking care to make sure you know what you're doing. Again, tips for story problems. Read the story slowly 2 or 3 times. Ask yourself, what do they want? Ask yourself, what do I know? And then draw a picture, draw a chart, take some notes, list numbers. Think about what you're doing. Think about what the story is asking you. Think about what the story is about. And make sure that you're not letting any extracurricular information throw you for a loop. So on page 23, right here, if it says, a school ordered 16 science books and 6 times as many picture books, and they ordered 5 times as many pencils. Is any of these questions about pencils? No. Make sure you're not getting tripped up. That is how you use multiplicative comparisons for story problems. On section A, turn to your workbook in page 28. It is going to go over all the things that we've learned. We used cubes, we used drawings, we wrote equations. As the number got larger, drawing every unit of each quantity became less convenient, so we kind of pared our diagram down. Then we started talking about story problems and times as many in a story problem. In your workbook, you can use pages 30, 31, 32, and 33, and 34 if you want to go on, if you want to do the exploration problems, to practice these things. So use workbooks pages 30 through 34 to practice everything you learned in section A of Unit 5 with multiplicative comparisons.